Let's turn now to a question from a listener in Penndale, Pennsylvania, who writes, I'm greatly confused. Jacob had 12 sons, which became the 12 tribes of Israel. When the land was divided, it went to 10 of Jacob's sons and 2 of Joseph's sons. So when you add Joseph and Levi to the list, you have 14 tribes. Can you explain this to me?
Ephraim and Manasseh were sons of Joseph and are considered each one of them a tribe. And old Jacob is the one that did that. You remember, he blessed each one of them separately when he went down into Egypt. When you say they're not his sons, well, they're his grandsons. And in that day, they didn't make the distinction that we make in kinfolks. Actually, they are considered tribes. All right, now I'll move on in your question. Ephraim and Manasseh were sons of Joseph. Why did Ephraim and Manasseh become tribes when Levi and Joseph weren't listed? Well, Joseph is listed in Manasseh and Ephraim. I've just indicated that. 2 tribes actually came from him. And Levi is the tribe that's the priestly tribe. They were not given any land. They were given certain cities, and they were called cities of refuge, where criminals, or rather a man who committed a crime innocently, could flee in order that he might get justice, and he'd be safe there. That is the division that's made, and up to this point, it's a good, solid division. Now it says, whatever happened to Dinah, Jacob's daughter? Well, to tell the truth, I don't know what happened to her. Now it says, why is it in Revelation 7:4-8, that Joseph and Levi are mentioned rather than Ephraim and Dan? I can understand Joseph being the name given to Ephraim, but what happened to the tribe of Dan? The last time Dan is mentioned, it is 1 Chronicles 2:2. Historically, that is the last time it's mentioned, but it's also mentioned in the book of Ezekiel. And this is something that's quite interesting. In the book of Revelation, for those who enter the millennium, because of the judgment on Dan, why, it is not mentioned at all. But the tribe of Dan is mentioned in Ezekiel. When you come to the millennial period, they are mentioned, so that in the book of Revelation, the judgment was on them during that period. But when they did enter the millennium, the judgment evidently was removed. And let me turn to the 48th chapter of Ezekiel and call your attention there, for instance, to verse 2. I'll read 1 and 2. Now these are the names of the others from the north and to the coast of the way of Hethlum, as one goes to Hamath, and Hazanan, and the border of Damascus northward to the coast of Hamath, for these are the sides east and west, a portion for Dan, and by the border of Dan from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Asher. And then again, 32, we find, and at the east side 4,503 gates, and 1 gate of Joseph, 1 gate of Benjamin, 1 gate of Dan. So that Dan is finally forgiven. God punished them as a tribe. Now they're forgiven. They are going to enter the millennial kingdom. Ezekiel is describing here the millennial kingdom and the things that will prevail. And Dan is mentioned. So don't forget that after all, Dan comes in for a blessing.